Either she doesn't realize what she's saying or she doesn't care. But the left-wing host Joy Reid is actually hoping that President Trump has his own Benghazi. An MSNBC anchor explains why President Trump will be tough to beat in November, and the U.S. takes out a major Iranian bad guy, which leads to criticism from Ilhan Omar. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. I hope you had a great week. Happy Friday. There is a lot to get into, and we are going to start with what's going on in Iraq and the left's reaction, because you just have to, I think President Trump drives them so crazy that their brains literally short circuit and they say things that don't make any sense unless they actually have ill will towards Americans and those serving overseas. Because we are getting comparisons now for President Trump to have his own Benghazi. And for those of you that need a little refresher, in 2012, the American consulate in Benghazi, Libya, was attacked. There were warning signs. This was a coordinated, a planned attack. This was during Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State in the Barack Obama administration. Warning sign after warning sign. Requests for help. Requests to check things out. All of it was ignored, and as a result, 4 Americans died. That is the Benghazi situation. That is what happened. 4 Americans lost their lives, and now there are some on the left that are hoping President Trump has his own Benghazi with the attack that happened at the American Embassy in Baghdad on Tuesday. And one of those is Joy Reid, and she put out a tweet that is short, but when you look at it, you have to wonder, does she know what she's saying? Is she really hoping that America will experience another Benghazi? Here's what she tweeted. She said, as Trump's Benghazi unfolds in Iraq. Now she was referencing a tweet that the president put out when he said, read the transcripts. He's talking about this whole impeachment, read the transcripts. And somehow she flips that around and says, as Trump's Benghazi unfolds. Now, Senator Ted Cruz wasn't having any of that. He knows what that means. He knows what that implies. And he tweeted this in response. Says, what's wrong with you? Is partisan hatred really that deep? We root for American soldiers, not against them. And he's absolutely right. And Reid wasn't alone. There were other lefties out there that were saying the same exact thing. And here's a report from Fox News. It said, Reid wasn't the only one who attempted to link Tuesday's raid to the 2012 Benghazi terrorist attack that left 4 Americans dead, including U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens. A progressive veterans political organization, PAC Votes, used the violent demonstrations on Tuesday to knock the president. Hey, POTUS, remember your Benghazi rants during 2016? You're about to have your own one, unfortunately, in Iraq. Vote Vets wrote in a now-deleted tweet. The Benghazi rants was a reference to Trump's repeated attacks against former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton over her handling of the Benghazi attack. The tweet, which was later deleted, was widely panned on social media. So again, what's wrong with these people? What causes them to just hate the president so much that they'll actually wish bad situations happen to tarnish the president? And those bad situations will result in Americans getting hurt or killed. And that's what they're rooting for. It's mind-boggling that this is what's going on. Also over at MSNBC, anchor Katie Tour did a segment on the president, this time actually talking about why he was going to be hard to beat. And of course, in talking about some of the pluses, she has to lead into the segment by knocking the president, which I guess is just, their modus operandi. The only way they can do business over there is you got to knock the president and then say, oh, he might be tough to beat. But here's how she started out.
The party is locked in a battle over ideology between moderates and progressives. And while former Vice President Joe Biden holds the national lead, he is far from Democrats' standard bearer. In fact, the only thing Democrats seem to be united on is their desire to beat Donald Trump. and that might not be quite enough.
Well, she's right about that analysis. And even if one of these Democrats does manage to unite the party, they have a host of negatives. I mean, just name them. I mean, Joe Biden, you've got corruption and quid pro quo. Bernie Sanders is a full-blown socialist. Elizabeth Warren can't figure out her own background. She doesn't know the job that her father had. She's just a mess. And those are your three leading contenders. So then Tour went on and talked about President Trump.
While the president could be weakened by impeachment and dogged by a widespread collapse of his foreign policy agenda, Democrats are no closer to defeating Mr. Trump than they were 3 years ago.
All right, weakened by impeachment and facing widespread collapse of his foreign policy agenda. So just think about that, because it makes absolutely no sense. We've talked about impeachment over and over again, and she'll even say some stuff in clips that we'll get to, but he has certainly not been weakened by impeachment. He's been strengthened by it. Impeachment support has gone down. His support has gone up. And as far as foreign policy is concerned, whether it's China, whether it's ISIS, whether it's paid militia from Iran, the president has acted not only with strength, but with cleverness in handling these situations. So to say that his foreign policy agenda is collapsing is nonsensical. All right. And then she goes on.
Exhibit 1, the Trump campaign's massive $46 million fundraising haul. It is its largest total yet, and proof that Trump and his base remain emboldened by what they see as unfair attacks against the president.
So boom, the president raked it in during this last quarter, all driven by impeachment. So again, it's just what she said previously, to say that he's somehow been weakened by impeachment, and yet he's building up his war chest like never before, shows the strength, the position that the president is in. And then she goes on to her next point.
Exhibit 2, the president's current approval rating. It has rebounded to 45%. According to NBC News' Jonathan Allen, that is exactly where Mr. Trump's numbers were on Inauguration Day. And to that, the president showing in battleground states where he continues to run neck and neck with top Democrats.
So polling is going up. Polling in battleground states doesn't just show him neck and neck. We covered it on a previous show last week that he's actually leading all the Democrat candidates in major battleground states such as Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. There is where he is. He needs those states, and he is doing what he needs to do to put himself above the Democrats. And the Democrats are, killing themselves anyway with their left-wing policies, but the president is doing what he needs to do. And so then Tour wraps it up like this.
Whoever the Democrats pick, they will be facing a president who has already survived the kind of setbacks that would normally end a political career, or maybe 1,000 political careers. Donald Trump is formidable. So our question is there a Democratic candidate whose message can both unify the party and win the White House?
So is there one? Is there a candidate, a Democrat candidate, that can unify the party and beat President Trump in November? The answer is no, because right now they are a mess. They do not know what they even believe in. They're so far to the left, trying to, bring in a fringe part of the party that they are alienating not only independents, but Democrats that don't remember the Democrat Party ever being this extreme. Yet that extreme is what is driving these presidential candidates, even the so-called moderate ones. And the result is going to be someone that is going to be easy game for President Trump. Now, speaking of those candidates, I want to talk about, in particular, Bernie Sanders, because, again, like we mentioned, he's full-on socialist, all right? He wants Medicare for all. He wants the government to completely take over Medicare, to completely take over the entire healthcare system, and we're going to pay for it. It will break the bank. It will bankrupt the country. That's what he wants to do, yet he won't even put a price tag on it because he says people will freak out. He's asked about this recently, and he won't put a price on it because he knows it will shock and scare people. Here's a report from the Daily Caller. Democratic 2020 candidate Senator Bernie Sanders said Thursday that he won't put a price tag on his government takeover of the healthcare system because the figure is such a huge number. The Vermont senator again declined to say how much this Medicare for All plan would cost during an interview with the Washington Post on Thursday. I don't give a number, and I'll tell you why. It's such a huge number, and it's so complicated that if I gave a number, you and 50 other people would go through it and say, oh, Sanders told the Post reporter. So people would say, oh, that's his response? What kind of response is that? What kind of government leader is that to say, people don't understand this stuff? I'm not going to tell them the number, but vote for me anyway. It's just weird. Here's more. Sanders has repeatedly avoided saying how much his Medicare for All plan would cost, although he acknowledged he will raise taxes on most Americans as part of his plan, which would abolish private health insurance plans. Sanders said in August that nobody knows how much his plan will end up costing. One report estimated that Sanders' plan could cost over $32 trillion over the course of a decade, in addition to killing as many as 2 million jobs. Wow. Sanders, that's what he's pitching. Elizabeth Warren's plan for Medicare for All is estimated to cost even more, and these are the people that are running to say, trust us, we're going to fix healthcare. It's just mind-blowing. So finally, I want to talk about what's going on in Iraq and through their influence in Iran as well. Because as you know, paid militia in Iraq, paid for by Iran, attacked the American embassy in Baghdad on Tuesday. Well, there was some fallout, all right. There were some results of that. There was a counterstrike. And here's a report from the Washington Examiner. The Pentagon has confirmed that United States forces killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani at the direction of the president. It said in a statement that Soleimani has been actively developing plans to attack American diplomats and service members in Iraq and further afield. In full, the statement said, at the direction of the president, U.S. military has taken decisive defensive action to protect U.S. personnel abroad by killing Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization. This was a major bad guy, a major sponsor of terrorism worldwide, who's already been responsible for American deaths in Iraq. We took him out. We took him out with a drone strike near the Baghdad airport. He's gone. Iran is freaking out. But we took out a major source of terrorism, a major terrorist leader. That's what happened yesterday in response to the attack on our embassy in Baghdad. So Ilhan Omar reacts, and what does she do? She criticizes the president. Here's her tweet. So what if President Trump wants war, knows this leads to war, and needs the distraction? Real question is, will those with congressional authority step in and stop him? I know I will. Stop him? Stop him for what? He just retaliated without an endless war, without endless ground forces, without a plan to get out or end things like we've seen in the past. He took decisive action. He saw a major bad guy, someone responsible for leading these types of forces, for organizing these militias in Iraq that ended up attacking us. We took him out just like that. Surgical strike, boom, it's done. And she is complaining. She's criticizing the president. It's just, you just got to wonder what her motivations are. So that's our update. Folks, that's our show for today. I hope you have a great weekend. Please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. And we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.